This is a tornado emergency for Moore and South Oklahoma City. This is a tornado emergency. At 3:01 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Those words weren't a forecast. They weren't a possibility. They were a sentence. In 22 minutes, a school would collapse. In 22 minutes, a hospital would fail. In 22 minutes, a city's past would collide with its present. Again, this is how a warned storm became the most unexpected tornado in America. May 20th, 2013, Monday afternoon, late spring in Oklahoma. The kind of day where the air feels heavy, thick, electric. But the day didn't creep up on anyone. This wasn't a surprise. This wasn't a bolt from the blue. Days before, the Storm Prediction Center had been tracking an evolving severe weather setup across the southern plains. Upper-level trough digging into the Four Corners region. Deep moisture streaming north from the Gulf of Mexico. Instability values climbing. By May 19th, Sunday night, the forecasters at SPC headquarters in Norman, Oklahoma, were outlining their concerns in the Day 2 outlook. Moderate risk for severe weather. 10% hatch tornado probability across central Oklahoma. In the world of severe weather forecasting, a hatch 10% area is a red flag. It means significant tornadoes, violent tornadoes, the kind that change landscapes, the kind that end lives. That morning, Monday, May 20th, the National Weather Service office in Norman issued their 5 a.m. hazardous weather outlook. Quote, "A few tornadoes are expected this afternoon and evening. A couple may be strong. Peak severe weather window, 3 to 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Strong, not weak, not brief. Strong." By 10 a.m., they updated it again. The language tightened. The confidence grew. Television meteorologists across the Oklahoma City metro area were showing the same maps, the same timing, the same growing dread in their voices. Every meteorologist in Oklahoma knows this setup. They've seen it before. May 3rd, 1999, May 8th, 2003. When the atmosphere stacks this way in central Oklahoma, bad things happen. Viewers knew, parents knew. Teachers checked their phones between lessons. Hospital staff glanced at radar loops during shift changes. This wasn't a maybe. This wasn't a low-end threat. This was a when and a where. And yet, when it arrived, exactly when they said it would, exactly where they said it would, it still felt impossible. Because knowing a tornado is coming and experiencing a tornado arriving are two very different things. Moore, Oklahoma. Population, 55,000, give or take, a suburb just south of Oklahoma City. Comfortable, tree-lined, normal. Neighborhoods with names like Eastlake Estates and Highland Park. Schools every few blocks, elementary, middle, high school, churches, strip malls, a hospital, soccer fields, the kind of place where people raise families, where Friday nights mean high school football, where neighbors know each other's names, anywhere, USA. Except Moore had a history. May 3rd, 1999, 7:08 p.m. Central Daylight Time. The Bridge Creek to Moore tornado, F5 on the Fujita scale. The most violent tornado rating possible. 36 people killed, 301 injured, over $1 billion in damage in 1999 money. The Doppler on wheels, a mobile radar unit operated by researchers, measured wind speeds inside that tornado at 321 miles per hour, the highest wind speed ever recorded on planet Earth. Not in a hurricane, not on a mountaintop, inside a tornado, in Moore, the path, 38 miles long, the duration, 85 minutes, a monster that carved its name into the red Oklahoma dirt and into the memory of everyone who survived it. May 8th, 2003, another violent tornado, F4, another early evening strike, and the path, eerily, disturbingly, close to the 99 track, homes that had been rebuilt, brick by brick, beam by beam, hope by hope, were destroyed, again, and now. May 20th, 2013. 3 violent tornadoes, 14 years. Nearly the same corridor, the same city. People talk about lightning not striking twice. They don't talk about Moore, Oklahoma. On the morning of May 20th, the people of Moore went about their day, with one eye on the clock and one eye on the sky. A teacher at Brierwood Elementary School, 3rd grade classroom, 24 students. She'd been teaching in Moore for years. She'd been through tornado drills, dozens of tornado drills. She had a plan, hallway, interior wall, hands over necks, mattresses if time allowed. She'd practiced this. Her students had practiced this. But practice and real are not the same. An emergency room nurse at Moore Medical Center, 12-hour shift, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Patients in labor, patients in surgery, patients in critical care, tethered to machines that breathe for them. She'd heard the forecast that morning. They all had. The charge nurse sent out a reminder email at noon. Monitor weather, review shelter-in-place protocols. In Oklahoma, that email is routine. Spring and Tornado Alley. You don't panic. You prepare. But there's preparing for the idea of a tornado, and preparing for a tornado that arrives at your hospital. A meteorologist at the National Weather Service office in Norman, 6 miles north of Moore, watching loops, refreshing data, studying satellite, tracking the dry line. The morning sounding from Norman showed CAPE, convective available potential energy, over 4,000 joules per kilogram. For context, 1,000 is enough for severe thunderstorms. 2,000 is significant. 4,000 is explosive. He knew. They all knew. Somewhere in central Oklahoma that afternoon, a supercell was going to produce a violent tornado. The question wasn't if. The question was where and when. Peak window, 3 to 8 p.m. Each of them, the teacher, the nurse, the forecaster, thought they were ready. Each of them was about to learn what ready really means. 1:10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. The Storm Prediction Center, in coordination with the National Weather Service office in Norman, issues Tornado Watch number 191, valid until 10 p.m., covering central Oklahoma, Canadian County, Cleveland County, Grady County, including Moore. A tornado watch isn't a warning, it's a setup. It's the atmosphere saying conditions are favorable. It's a loaded gun, sitting on the table. Across Moore, people notice. Not panic, just awareness. Parents text their teenagers. Watch issued, keep your phone on. Teachers glance out windows during lesson transitions. The nurse at Moore Medical checks the weather app on her phone. Radar loop, green, yellow. A few red cells developing to the west. Not yet, but soon. 2:12 p.m., a severe thunderstorm. Warning is issued by the National Weather Service Norman office. The polygon includes Moore. A supercell thunderstorm near Bridge Creek, moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. Large hail, damaging winds. Bridge Creek. The same town where the '99 tornado began. The same road. The same corridor. Anyone in Moore over the age of 20 remembers. Bridge Creek to Moore. History doesn't repeat, but sometimes it rhymes. 2:40 p.m. Tornado warning, not severe thunderstorm. Tornado. National Weather Service Doppler radar has indicated a storm near Newcastle capable of producing a tornado. This storm is moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. The sirens begin to wail, not the monthly test, not the noon on Saturday practice that every Oklahoman knows by heart. This time, it's real. Across Moore, the reaction is practiced, almost choreographed. Parents pull kids from daycare centers. We're going home, now. Families gather in interior rooms, hallways, closets, bathtubs, flashlights, weather radios, bike helmets for the kids. Some families head to their storm shelters, steel boxes bolted into garage slabs, or buried in backyards, accessed through heavy doors. Others stay in their homes, interior rooms, mattresses pulled over doorways. Moore has been here before. Moore knows what to do. Drills, procedures, muscle memory. But knowing the steps doesn't mean you're ready for the moment, because at 2:56 p.m., Central Daylight Time, the moment arrives. 2:56 p.m., northwest of Newcastle, Oklahoma. Rural area, open fields, scattered homes, a few horses in pastures. The sky is green, dark, rotating. And then the funnel descends. It doesn't start small and grow. It doesn't touch down gently and intensify over minutes. It touches down, violent. Within 1.4 kilometers of the initial touchdown point, the National Weather Service damage survey teams will later document EF4 level destruction. Trees debarked, vehicles rolled, homes obliterated. This tornado doesn't have a warm-up phase. It arrives at near peak intensity, and it stays there. The forward motion, 40 miles per hour, northeast, directly toward Moore. On radar, the signature is textbook, hook echo, bounded weak echo region. And then a debris ball. A debris ball is what happens when a tornado is so violent, so intense, that the debris it lifts, wood, metal, insulation, lives, reflects back to the radar like hail. It's not precipitation, it's destruction, visible from space. And on May 20th, at 2:57 p.m., the debris ball is growing, wider, denser, brighter on radar. The National Weather Service meteorologist in Norman sees it. His hands tighten on the edge of the desk. He knows what's coming. He's seen this before, 14 years ago. He issues the next warning, faster than protocol requires, because sometimes protocol isn't enough. The tornado crosses the Canadian River, the river that separates rural Grady County from suburban Moore, the river that used to be a boundary, a line, not anymore. As it crosses, the width expands, half a mile, 3/4 of a mile, 1 mile. Some estimates, based on aerial surveys and damage analysis, will push the maximum width to 1.3 miles, maybe 1.7, a mile-wide tornado. Not a narrow rope, not a stovepipe, a wedge, a wall of wind and debris and death, over a mile across. At the Canadian River crossing, there's a bridge, State Highway 130, steel girders, its concrete deck. Built to modern standards, engineered for traffic loads, for floods, for time, not engineered for this, the tornado. Displaces sections of the bridge, not damages, displaces, steel beams, moved, concrete, shifted. The tornado doesn't just break things, it rearranges them. East of the river, the landscape changes, fewer fields, more houses, neighborhoods, schools. The rural warning becomes an urban emergency. And the people in those neighborhoods, they have 15 minutes before their world ends. 3:01 p.m. Central Daylight Time, the National Weather Service issues a tornado emergency. Not a watch, not a warning. A tornado emergency. This is the highest level of alert the National Weather Service can issue for a tornado. It was created in 1999 during the Bridge Creek to Moore tornado, the first tornado emergency ever issued. It means this is not theoretical. This is not possible. This is not maybe. This is happening. This is catastrophic. This will cause fatalities. Large and extremely dangerous tornado on the ground. This is a tornado emergency for Moore and South Oklahoma City. If you are in the path of this tornado, take cover now. The words, go out over NOAA weather radio, over television, over smartphones equipped with wireless emergency alerts. The sirens are still wailing, continuous, relentless. At Brierwood Elementary, the principal makes the call. Lockdown, interior hallways, now. Teachers move students out of classrooms. No time for backpacks, no time for jackets, no time for anything but movement. Hands over necks, knees down, bodies against interior walls, third graders, 8 years old. Some are crying, some are silent. The teachers cover them with their own bodies. One teacher will later say, "I told them we'd done this before, that they knew what to do, that they were brave." She didn't tell them. She was terrified. At Moore Medical Center, the code is called Severe Weather Protocol. All available staff to interior corridors. Move critical patients now. A woman in active labor, contractions 3 minutes apart, is rushed from a second-floor birthing room to a first-floor operating room. No windows, steel-reinforced walls. As safe as they can make it. She's scared. But the nurses, calm, practiced, steady, hold her hands. "We've got you. You're safe. We've got you." Outside the hospital, the sky turns black. At 3:01 p.m., the tornado emergency is issued. By 3:17, it will arrive. 3:17 p.m., Central Daylight Time. Briarwood Elementary School, Southwest 149th Street, the southern edge of Moore. The building is standard. Brick exterior, metal roof, built in the 1980s, renovated in the 2000s. No safe room, no tornado shelter, no reinforced core, just hallways and walls and hope. The tornado, over a mile wide now, crosses Southwest 149th Street. The roar is unlike anything most of the teachers have ever heard. Louder than a freight train, louder than a jet engine, louder than sound should be. The walls begin to shudder, vibrate. The floor beneath them shifts, and then the roof lifts. Not slowly, not gradually. It just lifts. Peels back like the lid of a can. One teacher, covering 3 students with her body, feels the pressure change. Her ears pop. The air pulls. The wind doesn't push. It sucks, trying to pull them up, out. She presses down, arms around small shoulders, her own weight, the only thing keeping them grounded. She prays, out loud, and then the wind shifts. The tornado moves. The roof is gone. Walls are cracked, debris everywhere, but everyone at Briarwood survives. Every teacher, every student, every staff member, bruised, cut, terrified, but alive. The tornado isn't finished. Just east of Briarwood Elementary, less than half a mile, the National Weather Service damage assessment teams will later document the first EF5 rated damage. Residential homes, single family, wood frame construction, brick facades, swept to bare concrete foundations, not collapsed, not destroyed, swept, gone, erased. Vehicles, cars, trucks, SUVs, mangled beyond recognition, wrapped around trees, wrapped around each other. Pavement, scoured. Asphalt, stripped down to the soil beneath. EF5, the enhanced Fujita scale's highest rating, winds estimated over 200 miles per hour. Incredible damage, total devastation. But here's what most people don't understand about EF5 tornadoes. Out of 4,253 individual damage indicators surveyed along this tornado's 22-kilometer path, only 9 were rated EF5. 9. Not 9 blocks, not 9 neighborhoods, 9 homes. The rest, EF0, EF1, EF2, EF3, some EF4. Terrible, catastrophic, life-changing, but not total. EF5 is the exception, even inside a violent tornado. You can stand in a neighborhood where one house is swept to its foundation, and the house 2 doors down still has walls, a roof, windows blown out, yes, severe damage, yes, but standing. The winds aren't uniform. The destruction isn't uniform. EF5 is surgical, hyper-local, precise. And on May 20th at 3:17 p.m., in a corridor just east of Briarwood Elementary, those 9 homes told the story of what this tornado, at its absolute worst, could do. But those 9 homes, they were just the beginning. 3:17 p.m. Plaza Towers Elementary School, less than 1 mile east of Briarwood. The same protocol, interior hallways, hands over necks. Teachers covering students, the same hope. But Plaza Towers sits directly in the path of those 9 homes, directly in the path of EF5. The building was constructed in 1962, renovated multiple times. Additions built in the 70s, the 90s. Brick and concrete block walls, flat roof with steel bar joists, standard construction, normal construction, not rated for this. At 3:17 p.m., the tornado, still over a mile wide, strikes Plaza Towers Elementary. The walls don't shudder. They don't crack. They collapse. Inward, not blown away, pushed in. Concrete blocks, steel, insulation, roofing material, everything collapsing into the hallways where 75 students and staff are sheltering. No time to react, no time to run, no time for anything. But the impact, 7 children, 3rd graders, 8 years old, 9 years old, 7 children, lose their lives, most from asphyxiation, suffocation under debris too heavy to move, too dense to breathe through, some from blunt force trauma as walls gave way. Teachers survived, pinned, trapped, injured, calling out names into the darkness, listening for voices, for movement, for anything. Some voices answered, some didn't. Of the 24 people who will die in this tornado, 17 will die in the corridor between Brierwood Elementary and Plaza Towers Elementary. Less than 1 mile, 2 schools. 1 walks away, 1 doesn't. And the difference, seconds, feet, the exact path of EF5 wins. The difference between EF4 and EF5. The difference between walls that crack and walls that collapse. The difference between 24 students walking out bruised and 7 who never walk out at all. Outside Plaza Towers, parents are running, screaming names, climbing over debris. First responders arrive within minutes. Firefighters, police, neighbors with bare hands, lifting concrete, moving steel, piece by piece, calling out, listening. Some children are pulled out alive, dusty, bleeding, but alive. Others, the tornado moves on. But Plaza Towers will be remembered forever. 3:23 p.m. Central Daylight Time. The tornado reaches South Telephone Road and Southwest 4th Street, and here it does something that tornadic supercells sometimes do, something that makes the path even more unpredictable, even more cruel. It loops. The forward motion, which had been steady northeast at 40 miles per hour, tightens. The path curves slightly south, then arcs back to the east. The tornado briefly narrows. The forward speed increases, 50 miles per hour, maybe more. But the intensity does not decrease. And sitting directly in that loop is Moore Medical Center. Inside the hospital, it's controlled chaos. Patients moved to interior corridors, IVs disconnected, monitors unplugged, gurneys rolling, staff shouting coordinates. Or 2, move the post-op to the first floor hallway now. ICU, get the vents to the stairwell. We'll handbag if we have to. 1 patient, a woman in active labor, contractions now 2 minutes apart, has been moved to operating room 3. First floor, interior, no windows. The safest place they have. She's surrounded by nurses, an OB resident, an anesthesiologist. All of them in scrubs, all of them scared, but no one shows it. 1 nurse holds her hand, steady grip, eye contact. We've got you. You're safe. We've got you. The woman nods, breathing through contractions, trying to focus on anything other than the sound outside, because the sound is getting louder. 3:24 p.m. The tornado strikes Moore Medical Center. Windows explode, not crack, explode. Glass shards become projectiles, curtains sucked out into the vortex. The roof begins to fail. Metal decking peels back, insulation ripped away. Ceiling tiles fall, lights flicker. Then, darkness. Emergency lights kick in. Red, dim, alarms, dozens of alarms, medical equipment, fire alarms, structural alarms, a cacophony of sound and chaos and fear. In operating room 3, the walls shudder. The door, heavy steel, magnetically sealed, bows inward. The pressure drops, ears pop. The anesthesiologist's ears start bleeding from the pressure change. And then the woman in labor begins to pray. Out loud, the nurse holding her hand joins her. Then the resident. Then the anesthesiologist, blood trickling down his neck. Later, 10 years later, the patient will tell the Oklahoma newspaper, "They moved me to the OR, and then the building began to come apart around us. There was wind and noise, and I thought, this is it. But then there was this unusual sense of calm. We all began to pray, together, out loud, and I just knew we'd be okay." 3:25 p.m. The tornado moves east. Operating room 3 is damaged. Ceiling partially collapsed. Door frame cracked. Water pouring from broken pipes above. But the room held. The walls held. The baby will be born 2 hours later. Healthy, full term, perfect. Mother and child will walk out of Moore Medical Center 3 days later. The hospital itself, uninhabitable, structurally compromised. It will be months before it reopens. But that operating room, on May 20th at 3:24 p.m., it held. And sometimes that is the difference between tragedy and survival. The tornado crosses Interstate 35, the main north-south artery through central Oklahoma. 4 lanes in each direction, thousands of vehicles every hour. At 3:25 p.m. on a Monday afternoon, the interstate is full. Cars, trucks, semis. Some drivers saw the tornado coming, pulled off, abandoned their vehicles, ran to ditches, to underpasses, to anywhere that wasn't there. Others didn't have time. Vehicles tossed, not pushed, tossed. A sedan found 300 yards from the interstate. Upside down, wrapped around a tree, a semi-truck rolled. The cab separated from the trailer, both unrecognizable, pavement gouged, chunks of asphalt missing, billboards, steel poles, metal frames shredded, twisted into abstract sculptures of destruction. And in the neighborhoods on the east side of I-35, the survey teams will find the final 3 EF5 rated homes, 9 total, 3 west of the interstate, 6 east, all residential, all wood frame, all erased. But by now, the tornado is changing. The width begins to narrow, slightly from over a mile to 3/4 of a mile. The damage swath trends back to EF4, then EF3, still catastrophic, still deadly. But the peak, the absolute worst, has passed. 3:35 p.m. Central Daylight Time. West of Lake Stanley Draper, open space, parks, less dense development. The funnel begins to rope out, thinning, weakening. The debris cloud settles. The roar fades. And then the tornado lifts 39 minutes after touchdown. 14 miles of path, 22.3 kilometers, up to 1.7 miles wide at peak. 24 lives gone, 212 injured, thousands of structures damaged or destroyed, $2 billion in losses. The sirens across Moore finally go silent. But the work has only just begun. When the tornado dissipates at 3:35 p.m., the chaos multiplies because now the scale of what just happened becomes visible. From the air, news helicopters scrambled from Oklahoma City. The path looks like a scar, a wound carved into the earth, brown, gray, broken, a ribbon of destruction cutting through neighborhoods that 30 minutes earlier had lawns and mailboxes and lives. On the ground, it's worse. Debris everywhere, not scattered, everywhere. Wood, insulation, metal, glass, clothing, photographs, lives, reduced to pieces. And somewhere, under all of it, people are still trapped. Search and rescue teams deploy within minutes. Fire departments from Moore, from Oklahoma City, from Norman, from Edmond, police, EMS, highway patrol, urban search and rescue teams, FEMA certified, trained for building collapse, arrive from Tulsa, from Texas, from Kansas, dogs, trained to find survivors, and the deceased, heavy equipment, cranes, excavators. But in the first hours, it's mostly hands, bare hands, gloves, pulling debris, piece by piece, lifting concrete blocks, moving beams, calling out names over and over, listening for responses, for taps, for voices. Some voices answer back. A woman trapped in a bathtub, covered by a collapsed wall, alive, injured, but alive. A man, pinned under a fallen roof truss, conscious, talking, rescued after 40 minutes. A teenager pulled from the rubble of her home, bruised, terrified, but breathing. And some don't answer. By nightfall, when the sun finally sets on May 20th, 2013, the official count begins. 24 confirmed dead. 17 in the corridor between Briarwood and Plaza Towers. 7 are children, all from Plaza Towers Elementary, the youngest, 8 years old. 212 injured, many critically, burns, crush injuries, head trauma, lacerations requiring hundreds of stitches. Hospitals across the Oklahoma City metro area, Integris, OU Medical Center, Mercy, Norman Regional, all activate mass casualty protocols. Trauma bays full, operating rooms running through the night. Outside Moore Medical Center, damaged, compromised, but still staffed. Nurses and doctors treat walking wounded in the parking lot. Triage, bandages, IVs, anything they can do with what they have across Oklahoma and across the nation. People watch. Live television coverage, aerial footage, interviews with survivors still covered in dust. The Oklahoma City Thunder, NBA team, in the middle of playoff season, dedicate their next game to Moore. Celebrities, politicians, everyone sends thoughts, prayers, money. But in Moore, the work continues. Searching, counting, grieving. Flags across Oklahoma, drop to half staff. Vigils fill parking lots, parks, church lawns, candles, flowers, teddy bears, chalk names, written on shattered concrete slabs where homes used to be. Moore has been here before. 1999, 2003. But grief doesn't get easier with repetition. In the days and weeks following May 20th, the National Weather Service sends teams into Moore, damage assessment teams, engineers, meteorologists, structural experts. Their job, to survey every single piece of destruction, to rate it, to understand precisely what this tornado did. Over the course of 2 weeks, they document 4,253 individual damage indicators. 4,000 homes, businesses, schools, churches, trees, power poles, vehicles, fences, everything. Each one photographed, measured, rated on the Enhanced Fujita scale. The Enhanced Fujita scale, EF scale, rates tornadoes based on damage, not wind speed. Because we can't measure wind speed inside most tornadoes. No instruments survive. So we look at what the tornado DID, and we infer what the winds must have been. EF0, light damage, shingles off roofs, branches broken. EF1, moderate damage, roofs partially removed, windows broken. EF2, considerable damage, roofs torn off, mobile homes destroyed. EF3, severe damage, entire stories of homes collapsed, trees debarked. EF4, devastating damage, well-built homes leveled, vehicles thrown. EF5, incredible damage, total destruction, homes swept from foundations, pavement scoured. Now, here's what the survey of the Moore tornado found. Out of those 4,000 damage indicators, the vast majority were rated EF0 to EF2. Terrible, life-altering, expensive, but not total. About 10% were rated EF3 or EF4. Homes leveled, roofs gone, devastating. And only 9 were rated EF5. All of them residential homes, single-family, wood-frame construction, all of them within a narrow corridor less than 2 miles long. This is the truth about violent tornadoes that people often miss. The EF5 footprint is small, hyper-local, surgical. You can walk through a neighborhood where one house is swept to bare foundation, and the house 2 doors down has a damaged roof, but still has walls, still has a structure. The winds inside a tornado aren't uniform. There are subvortices, smaller whirls within the main circulation. Like a rope made of smaller ropes, these subvortices can have winds 50 miles per hour faster than the overall tornado. So, when a subvortex passes directly over a structure, that structure experiences EF5. But the structure 20 feet away, maybe EF3, maybe EF4. EF5 doesn't mean the whole tornado was EF5. It means that in a few terrible places, for a few terrible seconds, the tornado was everything it could be. And on May 20th, 2013, 9 homes experienced that. 9 families. That's what EF5 means. So, let's talk about warnings. Because the question everyone asks after a tornado like this is, if they were warned, why did people die? The tornado watch was issued at 1:10 p.m., nearly 2 hours before the tornado touched down. The first tornado. Warning specifically mentioning Moore was issued at 2:40 p.m., 16 minutes of lead time. The tornado, emergency, 3:01 p.m., 23 minutes before the tornado struck Plaza Towers. By modern standards, that's good lead time. The national average for tornado warnings is about 13 minutes. Moore had more than that. The sirens worked. The wireless emergency alerts worked. The television coverage was wall to wall. People knew. But here's the thing about lead time. Lead time measures the clock. It doesn't measure comprehension. It doesn't measure belief. The forecast issued that morning said, quote, "A few tornadoes expected, possibly strong, peak window 3 to 8 p.m. A 5-hour window, 3:01 p.m. falls inside that window. But it's the start, the early edge. Humans don't think in 5-hour windows. We think in patterns. We think in experience. Moore's experience from May 3rd, 1999, was a tornado that struck at 7 p.m., nearly sunset, dark, ominous. The time you expect tornadoes. 3 p.m. is school dismissal time. It's picking up your kids from daycare time. It's broad daylight, blue sky to the west. It doesn't feel like tornado time. And there's another factor. Moore had been hit before, twice before. Some people developed a sense of fatalism. If it's going to hit, it's going to hit. Others developed confidence. We survived before, we'll survive again. Neither is quite right. The warnings worked. The lead time was good. People sheltered, but warnings can't make a building. EF5 rated. Warnings can't change the exact path of a tornado by 50 feet. Warnings can't eliminate the the chaos of an EF5 impact on a school. 24 people died, but hundreds, thousands sheltered successfully, made decisions that saved their lives. The warnings worked. They just couldn't work perfectly. And in tornado science, in tornado preparedness, perfect doesn't exist. Only better. Remember the woman at Moore Medical Center? The patient in labor rushed to operating room 3 as the tornado bore down on the hospital. 10 years later, in May of 2023, the Oklahoma newspaper found her, interviewed her. Her name is Shayla Taylor, and this is what she remembers. I was in labor, progressing fast. They just checked me, 7 centimeters. And then the alarms started going off. Not fire alarms, weather alarms. And the nurses, they just moved fast. No panic, just speed. They unplugged everything, grabbed the gurney, and they ran me down the hallway to the OR. I remember the doors closing, heavy doors. And I remember thinking, this is the safest place they have. This is it. And then the sound. I've never heard anything like it, like a jet engine, like the building was screaming, and the walls, they were shaking, and the lights went out. And I was terrified. I thought, this is how I die. This is how my baby dies. And I just started praying out loud. I didn't even know what I was saying, just praying. And then one of the nurses, she grabbed my hand, and she started praying with me. And then the doctor, and then the anesthesiologist, all of us just praying together in the dark. And there was this calm. I know that sounds insane. The building was coming apart, but I felt calm, like we're going to be okay. And then it stopped. The sound, the shaking, just stopped. The ceiling was partially collapsed. Water was pouring from broken pipes. The door frame was cracked, but the room held, the walls held. 2 hours later, I gave birth, right there, in that OR, a healthy baby boy, 8 pounds, 3 ounces. We walked out of that hospital 3 days later, and I don't know how to explain it. We should have died, but we didn't. Shayla Taylor's son is 10 years old now, healthy, happy, alive, because an operating room built to standard codes in a hospital not designed for tornadoes held for 30 seconds of EF4, maybe EF5 winds. It held. That's the difference between catastrophe and survival. Not perfection, just enough. Enough steel, enough concrete, enough seconds for the tornado to pass, and enough warning to make the decisions that mattered. After May 20th, the question everyone was asking was, is Moore, Oklahoma a tornado magnet? No. Let's be very clear. Moore is not cursed. The land doesn't attract tornadoes. There's no mystical force pulling violent storms toward a specific suburb. What Moore is a moderately sized city, sitting directly in the climatological bullseye for violent tornadoes in the United States, central Oklahoma, the southern Great Plains. This is where cold, dry air from the Rockies and Canada collides with warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. Add in wind shear, winds changing speed and direction with height, and you have the perfect recipe for supercells. And supercells produce tornadoes, violent tornadoes. Moore sits right in the middle of it. And because Moore is developed, 55,000 people, schools, hospitals, shopping centers, homes, when a tornado crosses that particular patch of earth, it hits something. Rural tornadoes, tornadoes that track through empty wheat fields, through grassland, through nothing, don't make the news. They don't kill people. They barely get rated. They're invisible. But Moore is visible. Moore is populated. When a tornado hits Moore, the world sees it. The fact that 3 violent tornadoes struck Moore in 14 years isn't magic. It's geometry. Probability distributed over populated space. It feels impossible. It feels like fate, like targeting. But the math says it's just unlikely. And unlikely isn't the same as impossible. More isn't a magnet. More is just unlucky and visible. But being unlucky doesn't mean being helpless. In the aftermath of May 20th, FEMA and NIST sent teams to Moore to evaluate one crucial question. Did safe rooms work? Yes. FEMA published their findings in Report P-1020 in 2014, the title, Tornado Safe Room Performance in Moore, Oklahoma. And the findings were clear. Quote, properly constructed tornado safe rooms, both above ground and below ground, provided near absolute protection to occupants during the May 20th EF5 tornado. Near absolute protection. People who sheltered in ICC 500 compliant safe rooms survived. Bruised? Maybe. Terrified? Absolutely. But alive. The key findings from the FEMA report: 1. Anchorage matters. Safe rooms must be bolted to concrete foundation slabs. Wind doesn't just push, it lifts. If your safe room isn't anchored, it can be rolled, thrown, destroyed. 2. Doors and hardware matter. The door is the weakest point. It has to be steel, reinforced, with multi-point latching systems. A weak door is a failure point. 3. Location matters less than construction. Above-ground safe rooms, when properly built, performed just as well as below-ground shelters, if, and only if, they met the ICC 500 standard. FEMA was blunt in their recommendation. Quote, tornado safe rooms should be mandatory in schools, hospitals, daycare facilities, and other critical infrastructure in tornado-prone regions. Because the science is settled. You can design a space that an EF5 tornado cannot destroy. You just have to build it. You have to fund it. You have to make it a priority. And after Moore, many places did. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, issued their preliminary reconnaissance findings in 2014. NIST doesn't make laws. They make recommendations, but their recommendations carry weight. Recommendation 1. Critical facilities, hospitals, fire stations, emergency operations centers, police stations must be designed to remain operational during and after tornado impact, not just survivable, operational. Because if your hospital collapses, then where do the injured go? Recommendation 2. Schools in high-risk tornado areas should install tornado safe rooms or shelters as a design requirement, not an option, not a bonus, a requirement. Recommendation 3. Building codes should be updated to reflect modern understanding of wind loads, debris impact, and progressive collapse. Building codes are reactive. They change after disasters, after deaths. That's how it works. And after Moore. The conversation changed. The International Code Council had published ICC 500, the residential storm shelter standard, back in 2008. But adoption, state by state, district by district, voluntary, in most places. After Moore, it wasn't about EF anymore. It was about how fast. Oklahoma passed new school construction standards in 2014. Quote, all new school construction in tornado-prone areas must include a hard and safe area or storm shelter, capable of sheltering all students and staff. Federal grants for safe room installation increased. FEMA allocated millions. Homeowners could apply for rebates. Schools could apply for funding. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't fast enough for everyone. But it was movement. It was change. And Moore, Oklahoma, led the way. Plaza Towers Elementary was rebuilt, not repaired, not patched, or rebuilt. The new building, which opened in 2016, includes a hardened safe area, reinforced concrete walls, steel doors with multi-point latches, no windows, capacity for every student, every staff member. It's not an ADD on. It's not tucked in a corner. It's built into the heart of the school, a core feature, central, accessible. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony in August of 2016, survivors stood alongside architects, city officials, and families. One teacher, who had been at Plaza Towers on May 20th, 2013, said, quote, "We can't control the weather. We can't stop tornadoes from forming, but we can control how we face them. And this building, this safe room, this is how we face them. Prepared." Moore Medical Center, reopened in phases. First, temporary facilities, modular units, tents, whatever they could use. Then, a new wing, designed to modern tornado-resistant standards, reinforced roof assemblies, anchored HVAC systems, backup power, buried and protected. Operating rooms, built to withstand EF4 winds. Because if a hospital fails during a tornado, people die. Not just from the tornado, from the lack of care afterward. Across Moore, homes were rebuilt. Some families installed safe rooms. Above ground, built into garages. Below ground, access through bedroom closets. Not every home, not every family could afford it. Safe rooms cost money, $5,000, $10,000. More for larger families, but more than before, many more. Grants helped. Community fundraisers helped. Churches, nonprofits. Slowly, Moore became safer. Moore didn't just rebuild. Moore adapted. Moore learned. So why, after all the warnings, after all the history, after all the preparation, why did May 20th, 2013 feel so unexpected? Because unexpected isn't about the forecast. It's about the shape of our expectations. We expect tornadoes in the evening, not at school dismissal. We expect them in open country, not the same neighborhood, twice in 14 years. We expect chaos to be random. And when it's not random, when it's precise, almost surgical in its geography, it feels impossible. It feels targeted. The forecast said between 3 and 8 p.m., but our minds heard probably later. The warning said more, but our hearts said not again, not us again. Expectation is a filter. It's how we make sense of the world, how we cope with uncertainty. We build patterns, we build narratives, and sometimes the most dangerous moment is when reality slips through that filter in a shape we didn't recognize. The Moore tornado of May 20th, 2013 wasn't unexpected meteorologically. The forecasters nailed it. Days in advance, hours in advance, minutes in advance. It was unexpected, experientially, because knowing and feeling are different things. Because warnings and belief are different things. And that difference, that is the lesson, not just for Moore, for all of us. We prepare for the forecast, but we also have to prepare for the moment. 10 years later, on May 20th, 2023, and survivors gather at Plaza Towers Elementary. Not at the old site, at the new school. They walk the hallways, safe hallways, reinforced, protected. They stand in the safe room, steel doors, concrete walls. They read the names etched in memorial plaques outside the building. 7 children, forever, 8 years old. Kyle Davis, Sydney Angle, Janae Hornsby, Emily Conitzer, Christopher Legg, Nicholas McCabe, Antonia Candelaria. One survivor, a teacher who covered students with her body that day, says quietly, "We were prepared for the day. We knew it was coming. We'd been told, but we weren't prepared for the exact shape of what that day would bring. The timing, the path, the reality of it. Next time, we will be both prepared for the forecast and for the moment. Prepared for the forecast and for the moment. Prepared with sirens and with steel. Prepared with warnings and with walls that hold." On May 20th, 2013, At 2:56 p.m., Central Daylight Time, a tornado touched down northwest of Newcastle, Oklahoma. 39 minutes later, it dissipated west of Lake Stanley Draper. In between, it carved a path through memory, through grief, through a city that refused to disappear. Moore, Oklahoma, knows tornadoes. Moore has survived tornadoes 3 times, 3 generations, and Moore knows that survival isn't about avoiding the storm. It's about building for it, planning for it, believing that when the sirens wail again, this time we'll be ready, not because we can stop the tornado, but because we can survive it together.